Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And yes, I know this is a little bit later than you might expect. Honestly, I was hoping to get this compilation out at least last week, but I was on vacation, kind of lost track of time, built up a healthy backlog in the meantime that I'll be trying to churn through. But no more wasting time. Let's get on the pulse. But before we go any further, if you would like to like and subscribe, I would be extremely grateful. Please share this around too. These sorts of episodes, they don't get a lot of traffic in YouTube's algorithm, so let's help to get that going, especially with some slightly more obscure artists here. But now onto the matter at hand, we got 8 projects on the docket. Let's get this started with, from Fox Stevenson, Enemy Brain Entertainment Suite. So it's actually a bit difficult to review Fox Stevenson beyond drum and bass John Bellion. Swap out the New York hip-hop swagger and the early experimentation for UK drum and bass and bro step, where even if it can't remotely pull off any attempt at angst or depth, how much does that really matter when the grooves are bouncy and the pop hooks are way stickier than they have any right to be? This is his EP following his 2019 breakout Killjoy. Runs just under a half hour, about as long as it needs to be, and it's a pleasant enough listen that dabbles into modern pop punk and some of the guitars and lyrics, but let's also be real. I'd prefer a little more experimental flair and texture and less shallow, undercooked musings, especially as the production feels kind of flimsy and the vocals slide close to AJR territory. It's certainly got its audience, it's a neat little genre mashup, but it's more often than not for me. Take it or leave it. By Sundy Best, Feel Good Country. Okay, this came out of nowhere. Sundy Best are a wildly underrated country duo that are loose and fun, but also achingly sincere. Bring Up the Sun is one of the best albums of 2014. The next two were kind of lightweight, so they broke up, but they got back together a few years ago, and now with this first legit terrific country of 2023. Do not be fooled by the swampy opening joke track. This is still a bluegrass-leaning, fiddle-saturated acoustic pair with a rattling cajon, terrific production, and striking harmonies, pulling on gospel, and that slips into the content. More settled with God as a gentle force that's tugging him along, finding comfort in small reunions and release, some actual dramatic heft. So a little less rambunctious, but maturity's a good look on them, and Bad Imagination is one of the best songs of 2023 thus far. So yeah, it's so great to have Sundy Best back. Please check this out. From S.G. Lewis, AudioLust HigherLove. Look, the problem I had with S.G. Lewis back in 2021 was despite some good production instincts, he was the least memorable part of his own music, which could feel lacking in personality as it was. So okay, swap out vintage house and new disco for synthwave, late Daft Punk worship, and a lot of oversaturated 80s pop rock / the 1975 worship, where it's at least a flashier experience with the gated drums and the Technicolor synths, and also a sad reminder how tired that sound became when it was overexposed, which happens when this runs over an hour, and getting Lucky Day, Ty Dolla $ign, Charlotte Day Wilson, and recycling a Tove Lo song from her last album, it just doesn't feel like enough, especially when he still can't really sell the thematic juxtaposition between lust and love. The intensity is just not there. And you know what, that's fine. It makes for a breezy summer crowd pleaser. It's very easy to like, just kind of forgettable. All I'm saying. From Kelly Lee Owens, LP8 2. One of the biggest surprises for me in 2022 was Kelly Lee Owens swerving into some of the best produced experimental ambient post-industrial music I heard all year within a thoroughly gripping, time-bending concept album. This is a follow-up EP to that, running just under 20 minutes as a sister project with collaborations with Jenny Hval, and, well, it's still strikingly well mixed and meditative, especially in the low end, with more textured, percussive glitch coiling around the ethereal vocals on these 4 songs. There's definitely a stronger Bjork influence this time, and how it traces its fractured recursions between the primal and futuristic, and despite the desaturated production, it actually yearns brighter. I'm not sure if it's got a standout as strong as Release, the first song comes really damn close, but in this weird slice of ambient post-industrial, I think Kelly Lee Owens found greatness again. Please check this out. Great stuff. From Kimbra, A Reckoning. Look, I'm rooting for Kimbra. Her work's been uneven since Vows, but it's been 5 years and she's been through hell to self-release this. I really wanted to like it, and yet For as much as Kimbra uses rap in her genre pileup, I don't really think it works here, and left me wondering if it ever really did. It doesn't help that the production's rougher, replacing a lot of kooky melodies for dated hyperpop touches with clanking percussion, warbling bass, and clunky flows, where blaring, subversive appropriations of swag, they maybe clicked in the mid-2010s, but stylistically feel weirdly awkward coming out of her now. Maybe it's because Kimbra's manic flair has a different edge in her fragile post-breakup rage, where the writing feels more lean and raw, which helps the most emotive moments cut, but can also feel a little underwritten and underpowered. It's got its moments, this opens and closes really well, but I gotta admit, really want to like this more. From Elle King, Come Get Your Wife. You know, I think I was a little too harsh on Elle King's second album. It wasn't really that good, but it was more a problem of production and over-arrangement overshadowing the talent. A sophomore album that really should have honed in on her strengths. So now with Ross Copperman as the primary co-producer and a firmer grounding in country music, this is easily Elle King's most level and consistent album. It's still colorful with a lot of bouncy, playful flair, but it's way more balanced, even neo-traditional with plentiful fiddle and pedal steel. And Elle King strikes a better balance between being a new mother and an absolute hellraiser. Not quite as cutting as vintage Miranda Lambert, but bringing in more fun. Now there is some production that feels overcompressed and lyrics that reflect a barbed conservative streak, but you know what? She nails the collabs, and she also nails the Tyler Childers covered Jersey Giant. It's broad, splashy. I think it's her best to date. Check it out. From Rebecca Black, Let Her Burn. Look, I'm rooting for Rebecca Black, following her hyperpop project in 2021, where she struck a balance of accessible, well-balanced production and storytelling. So now on a proper full length, where the jagged black dresses influence erupts in the synthetic vocal layering and a couple buzzy riffs, it feels like a step in building a more distinctive voice for her, especially in the very queer, angsty breakup and the BDSM hookups and heartbroken introspection with an ex that no matter how hard Rebecca Black tries, she can't escape them, especially a lot of lingering thoughts of her own messy culpability. But for as much as Rebecca Black stays in her softer falsetto, I feel like we are missing this tighter, poppier melody or a sharper burst of energy to really put it over the top. The lyrics, the production, they're there, but I think it's missing that final spark. Absolutely her best to date, just not quite great. From RAYE, My 21st Century Blues. So here's a nice story. Stranded on a record label who bars her from releasing her own music despite all the co-writes behind the scenes, RAYE gets away from it and then sees tangible success when hits going indie. I just wish I liked her full-length debut as much as I like her story, where RAYE's vocal performance and lush stylism feels more refined than the uneven construction. I mean, at its best, there's this sultry, dramatic flair to the nocturnal blur of trip-hop, bluesy R&B, and pop as she drifts in the auto-tune mists of addiction and reclaiming her power from trauma. At its worst, though, the slapdash pacing, the melodramatic framing, it can feel like Riverdale core, where RAYE's influences cast long shadows and her poetry's kinda clunky. Her style of performance implies a subtlety, where instead she most often brings the hammer. There's some overreaches that don't quite land for me, but as a fully formed debut, yeah, it's pretty good. Worth hearing. Check it out. So yeah, once again, thank you all for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I would be extremely grateful. Yes, I've got a few more solo reviews and shorts and even a video essay on the docket. We'll see how that'll come out in the next week or so, maybe even faster. Beyond that, though, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if you guys want to get involved in the scheduling process for some of these reviews, where hopefully you could fill out my backlog, or hell, just argue with me directly on my Discord, link to my Patreon is right over there. Don't feel obligated, tough times, but the option's available. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching On the Pulse on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.